off of these first 2 games.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. Sasuke is known for his ironclad mental. He's a rock that cannot be moved.
We'll be checking with Hayden here, of course, from Amir, with 1 point, as you can see at the bottom. So the first game didn't go so well, and now it's against the same players again. Hayden, of course, we did see in his regional finals having an extremely flip-floppy kind of performance. Strong starts, then weak starts. But this underground start, this could be something special.
If you're in a tough position, you need to kind of bounce back with a big win. Underground might be the way to do it. Or it could be maybe a second bad result in a row. So maybe a riskier game here from Hayden if he has a chance to play underground. If he pairs it with the correct augments, especially Tiny Titans we saw from Hongmen in game 1. Maybe a Rich Get Richer as well.
In the scrims leading up to this event, a lot of people are playing underground, even surprising some players. And let's see what he ends up choosing. Gold tier, some really powerful augments already being offered. As Hayden rerolls underground heart.
Okay.
Oh, is it time?
Top right. You know what to do.
Surely the game is telling you, here you go. Please make the best use out of this 4 underground at 2-1. Get that big cash out. Get that big win because he needs it. He's on 1 point right now.
This is the most I've ever cheered for an EMEA player right now. Go for the underground heart. Win my heart. Do it.
Hayden, of course, is in Berlin, as you can see from the screens behind him, along with most of the rest of the EMEA crew. You see he's got a lot of thinking going on here, keeping us on 10.
Yeah.
And yes, the hearts are won and deployed to the field.
4 underground. So if he finds Sona on the stage 2 carousel, there could be some big fireworks coming up Hayden's way.
I have heard that Hayden maybe has not been as experienced on underground as a whole compared to players obviously like Hong Lian, who's played it so often in China. So it's a great spot, yes, but we have to see how he navigates it. It is that kind of thin line you have to be able to walk down to be able to cash out in time and assemble a big board. Maybe a huge transition as well, testing your APM in stage 4.
We check in with Michael there. We can see they're bringing out a little bit more board strength. We'll at least give Hayden the losses that he's looking for. Underground 4, of course, only really worthwhile if you are taking those loss streaks. Good amount of stuff on the bench for Hayden as well to make this board as strong as he wants it to be.
Yeah, I'm curious what the rest of the lobby end up taking, because we saw some things like Built Different, and we're also seeing the LEC studio. That's right, live from Berlin, EMA players showing up.
We have 4 players over there. Hayden, the 2 French players, Cambiz and Enzo, and of course Kerfuzzle joined them from the UK. Ready to play maybe in a bit more of a testing environment, but it's the big stage. You're ready with all that hype as well for, I think, an event that deserves it.
No, and of course our players deserve that kind of experience at this level of competition. There is nothing higher than here. Hayden, though, has not found that Sona as of yet. We'll keep the loss streak going up against Replay, who's got a cluttered mind. He's got a lot to think about.
Got a cluttered mind. He also has 2 stars across the board, and this is exactly his comfort zone. Replay started with a 7th. And that is not something that he wants to do. But hey, last time he did, Replay actually posted a couple of bot 4s in the North American Regionals day 1. Barely survived the day 2 cut, and then posted some of the best average plays for the rest of the tournament. So he's kind of a slow starter. Let's see if that ends up being the case again.
I think a player we want to talk about as well is Jazz Lottie. Got a lot of hype with SCA being a new region. He's coming in representing SCA. He has some pink hair to accompany as well. I think maybe he lost a bet along the way when he qualified to Worlds. But I'm very excited to see what he's able to bring, what he can show us as a player.
Well, we're from Southeast Asia, of course. We mentioned doing very well in our first on-stream game. We'll see if YBO1 can do the same here. Got managed the top 4 in the first game and has a Hearts board coming together.
Yeah, this is really interesting because I don't know if YBY wants to actually reroll Lulu. He has no gold spent into experience points. He's on a 2-win streak, but he also slammed things like Shojin, which is not Lulu's best item. Not to mention that it's also true to, so you usually want combat augments. What do you think about this spot, Panda?
I think it might be a transitional phase. We'll see. If he gets a lot of natural Lulus, he says maybe this is good enough anyway. I'm just going to take this and maybe not finish first. It won't be the high cap, blue buff, JG, Axiomark board that we see win lobbies, but it might do well enough to actually get him, maybe 5 more points like he got in the first game, for example.
Yeah, and YBY got his qualification path through a lot of first plays going into the Eastern LCQ, posted 1-1-1 to start things off, and then cruised to an easy victory. Let's see if he can replicate that.
Yes, of course, the Western Last Chance qualifier was a little bit more spicy up until the end. But of course, if you come through the Last Chance qualifier, you want to be dominant because you've got a big hill to climb.
No Sonas on the carousel for Hayden to pick up. Maybe he finds one naturally, though. We do have the item anvil. We do have a component you can choose as well. So a little bit more flexibility in what items you can slam. Especially a good thing for these win streak players trying to slam. They need to have the more options available to actually get those best in slot items.
Yeah, so Hayden's going for 2 tiers. meaning that he's probably thinking about Ezreal reroll and hopefully can get Rising Spellforce. But if you don't, I think a lot of people believe that if you don't get the hero augment, that means you can't play it as a carry. And that's not true. Underground just gives you so much raw power. Let's say you get that crazy big cash out, it's almost like you're playing Rising Spellforce in terms of sheer power level.
Well, for replay, my apologies. With YBY1 also keeping the win streak going, we've got the two potentially on a collision course in this round, and this board is looking pretty solid.
Really interesting spot for replay. If he picks a defensive component, let's say he chooses like Cloak for Stoneplate Gargoyle, he puts himself in a spot where he can just have defensive items only. And so there's actually an argument for him to try to complete an offensive item. That being said, the best part about his composition is the fact that he has just straight up 2 stars, so he has more stats. So he ends up going for a more conservative approach, making sure to guarantee that completed item, because he wants to play for that win streak now, which is the most important thing.
Exactly. It's the optimal decision right at this moment to try and guarantee that 5 win streak. With Cluttered Mind, especially if you're able to win streak the early game as well, the extra pairs and the extra unit upgrades help you do that. You're in such a good spot going to stage 4.
And this will be the 2 win-streaking players up against each other 1 round earlier than they might have otherwise liked. It's looking like the defensive posturing for replay is going to pay off big, not just getting a win, but a substantial one.
Yeah, and this is because you saw that YBY didn't choose a level. He stayed at 4. So he might actually be somewhat committed mentally to Lulu reroll, which is also a good note that replay is holding Lulus just in case. You know, it's, again, Cluttered Mind doesn't really matter what you hold as long as it helps you hit your interest breakpoints. In this case, replay might want to keep onto those Lulus a little bit longer.
Also cases where even if you win the first 3 rounds, you know you're going to start pittering out at the end of stage 2. You decide not to lean more into that win streak. You kind of accept the natural logic coming in, especially with a player as strong as replay, and then move and morph into that lose streak until the end of stage 3, stage 4 potentially, if you are playing Lulu reroll especially.
We'll see if replay is able to keep hold of that streak. Here we can see from Michael's side of things, a pretty decent opposing board. It doesn't seem like it's really of the caliber to break this streak.
No, it doesn't seem like there's enough DPS with just Sivir 1, Ashe 1, Lucian 1. So an easy 5 streak of replay. And the best part is, he's winning by a lot. This Wukong doesn't even die. So he dealt full damage to somebody who was really healthy. And that's the kind of lead that you want to pad if you're replay. Finds an early Samira, which is exactly the kind of stuff he's looking for. He really loves to play the AD line. That's a huge pickup for him.
Take a quick look across our economy here. We can see a lot of players have been spending their money. The streaks, though, you only got 2 streaks in place across the entire lobby.
Lilo, 68 HP, but more importantly, 62 gold. I'm wondering what he looks like on his board right now. A bit of a loss streak for Hayden. Has actually won 1 game with the Underground, so actually not the ideal. We talk about Hayden not being as experienced on Underground. We'll see if that ends up punishing him coming into stage 3 and stage 4.
Did he get too greedy, or perhaps did Lilo grieve him because you had to play Underground units when some people who is full lose streaking does not have to? Here's, by the way, some of the patented moves of China. These items are so awkward because Lilo did not want to have too many swords, right? That's an AD line, but maybe he'll find a way to make it work.
Yeah, at least as the rich got richer and a good amount of money in the bank to go with this loss streak. So I think for the time being, as you said, Fred, I'm trying to avoid these big losses that have been getting handed out across the lobby and driving these HP totals down.
With this amount of gold, I think it might just be a level 7 roll down at 3-5. Of course, China is maybe the best region at knowing when exactly they have to spike. And right away, the Sunfire gets built. The Deathblade on the Lucian is a more surprising thing, though.
I mean, so it looks like he has to commit to playing Rift Walkers of some kind, or he has to play like Mech, but he slammed a Sunfire instead, which is not an ideal item on Mech because you want just straight up resistances without HP. Going up against replay, who now has a Runaan's onto that Samira and is playing that Infinity Team. This is an incredibly strong board to match up against. Lilo is going to take an even heavier punishment.
Yeah, without even having the combat augment, just the raw XP flowing through his veins will keep up that win streak heading into stage 3. We'll see if perhaps the augments will change that.
In this case, hitting that 70 gold threshold for Rich Get Richer. Another gold augment. No hero augment might be bad news for Hayden. Not so much bad news for YB, who hits a pan 3-3 already.
So just to wrap up the thread here for Lilo, I'm wondering if he's thinking about scope weapons, because scope weapons with the Deathblade on Bel'Veth can be quite powerful, and you can try to play around like a mech setup. And yeah, we talked about his mech items weren't the greatest, but he's got to pick a direction. He rerolls and finds Jewel Lotus, and he does have a Jewel Gauntlet slammed already. This is the number one reason why a lot of people hate slamming Jewel Gauntlet, because if you find that Jewel Lotus, you feel like that's inefficient because you lose a big portion of value on your carry.
Yeah, I suppose at least longer term we'll have that crit for the other carries coming in, but you're right, absolutely not ideal right now. Lilo still on the loss streak, still has the rich got richer, so that's still a ton of money coming in, switching up the carries a little bit, making sure that these items get the most value.
I think it's the one and only valid criticism China sometimes gets. Their itemization in the early game, as you're mentioning, Dan, just closes out some doors like this JG not being ideal for a pickup and kind of being forced to take a double trouble, not the best option for this board and just in the meta in general.
He was loose streaking anyways. So he's slamming things like Jewel Gauntlet because he wants to pick that direction and kill units, but he got punished for exactly doing that thing. Lilo has a reputation of being very first to raid. That's why he did really well in the Set 6 Gizmos and Gadgets Championship, where he was able to win the whole thing because he was able to like, lean into what makes him strong as a player. This looks like one of those 8th places, though, that Lilo could take, which would be devastating considering that he started off with that first.
Yeah, I mean, you really want to be, when you've got the capability to dominate a lobby, when we've got the reseeds every 3 rounds, you got to make it happen, but we've got some action in the shop.
Not even rolling at 3-5, rolling early, thinks he has to go now. He's losing too much HP. He has to find a better holder for these items. He's rolled now maybe enough where he thinks this is going to be a good enough board, if not to win, to at least lose by as little as possible.
That's such a dicey spot here. I'm not entirely sure if Lilo can do it going against Jazz Latte, who has a pretty decent backline, but his front line is terrible. He's got 1-star Pantheon, 1-star Shen, and hoping that's good enough to hold off against Lilo. So this is great for Lilo because he can at least kill a few units, if not straight up win.
Yeah, we'll have a chance to turn this streak around, even if we have to spend a lot of gold to do so. I mean, the board, I guess, is good enough for now. Jazz Latte, I think, quite happy to take that loss there. Has calculated loss and a threat level maximum to build towards a later game board.
Will he make it there? 39 HP, though, is a tough spot to be in before the stage 3 carousel. Haydn as well has now dropped down to 44. Has to cash out at some point. We'll see how far he can take that Ezreal reroll. And like you mentioned, if he's going to play it without the Ezreal carry augment, without Rising Spell Force.
I wonder what how Hayden's doing in terms of his progress as well, because I don't know if he's even on his cash out. Is he at 6 underground somehow? We missed it. It would be kind of wild to see Hayden come up from behind, and that's what makes it really scary for players like Lilo and for Jazz Latte as well, because you know that one underground player can completely destroy your lose streak plans.
Yeah, when we can see the bottom of the lobby is pretty volatile right now. The 3 players all around 40 HP or so. So we could be seeing some of those earlier eliminations that guarantee you points for the remaining players.
This might be an option for Hayden has, but not the best option. Eternal Winter, no Zhonya's, decides to continue. Has the JJ and the blue buff on. The Ezreal has Trade Sector as well, so has a better chance at hitting a lot of these upgrades. Samira can go in if he wants to risk it until Wolves and guarantee that next cash out.
I like it. A 5 underground gives you 5 for the loss, so if he just loses the next 2 rounds, he should be able to get to it at the end of stage 3, and I think he has a little bit of HP to give. I think this is a great choice here for Haydn.
Well, yeah, well, at least we'll guarantee there's going to be something good coming in the future. YBY1, of course, in a little bit more of a spicy prospect here. The hearts, of course, we saw from before, not quite up to 4 hearts as of yet, but has the supers in place, and those, of course, all important 3 stars.
And the SEA player doing things a little bit differently, playing for a tempo Lulu instead of trying to lose streak with it. Is sitting at 92 HP, has slammed more tempo-intensive items, yes, but he's been doing pretty well, has hit his upgrades as well. He's down to 4 gold, though, Dan.
He's down for a goal. He's going to sell 10. He has a duplicator, by the way, which he still hasn't used, and so he still has a couple of big power spikes just as a natural.
Pantheon.
His Pantheon is actually putting up so much.
That would have been too crazy.
That would have been too nuts instead, and you know, Vidigal also able to be rewarded for that win streak.
Well, still, though, I mean, yes, while it does break the streak, a lot of the board has already come online. She said a duplicator in place, so it's a full duplicator, maybe hoping to hold out for something a little bit better later on. Still, though, I'm so impressed that this much HP is left in the tank. For Haydn, though, the opposite problem. For 5 underground, 1 more will get the cash out.
Yeah, he has to be careful with the rolling here, because what if he actually gets strong enough to win by accident? Then you also are pot committed, and you have to go for another round of underground. That might be too much.
Not just that, it forces a transition at 4-1. Haydn seems to not be so happy. Lilo, one of the weaker players in the lobby. If Haydn wins here by accident, that would actually doom his next few rounds, might put him in a very tough spot.
Good news. He's not winning. Bad news, he's losing by a lot.
Yeah, that's going to be a big hit, but this will be a big cash out as well. Haydn has been very patient, as we said, on 1 point right now. The only way is up.
18 HP, needs to find 3 more. Ezreal has Trade Sector to help him do it, but not too much gold to work with, despite having a bench that's ready to transition. Has the Kai'Sa 2, has the MF as well.
And I think that the pressure is really mounting. As we take a look at the cash out, it's pretty solid, actually. It gives him some AP items. He can transition to the quick draws. Haydn at least has the units prepared, so he actually has way more gold than it looks. Oh, Eternal Winter's not bad, unless he wants to go for the Rocket Repel Fist.
Hide the tech, Hayden. Hide the tech. No pinging here.
Let him hook.
Oh boy! All right, so give me some predictions, guys. Hayden's got the cash out, has got the lost streak goal coming in as well. Is this good enough to put him back on top and get the much-needed first place?
You have to hit the upgrades. MF2, Ezreal 3 are going to be the really important ones. The Kai'Sa comes through if you want to go for the full cap Kai'Sa 3 as well, but it's more important to hit that Vi 3, to hit the Ezreal 3. 26 gold to roll with. One more Ezreal here as well. He has to do it quick though. He does not have that much time, and he has to win now. 18 HP
there
for
it
this
is.
player. One off of the Ezreal. Can he find the last upgrade he needs? The Garen's big as well.
That's huge. That's huge. He needs to keep rolling. The Central 3 is a massive deal for his DPS.
Can't find it, and has to get these items online right now.
The hook will be coming out, which should be allowing at least one more round of safety. Going to be grabbing hold of the, no, not the Aurelion Soul, instead just the Vex. So it might still be a little spicy.
That's very lucky for Vidigal. If he lost his Acel, he might not kill it. He might have. Actually, you know what? He wasn't going to kill any units anyways.
Has some item components as well. Wants to maybe wait for the Gunblade on the Ezreal. Hasn't slammed Giant Slayer on either the MF or the Ezreal, but looks like will win anyway. That last cast does not come through. Vidigal now finally losing his win streak despite doing so well in this game.
Hey!
Quick draw heart to pop things off here for Hayden.
And he gets to have an extra slot in his team.
There it is, Ezreal 3.
Let's see what else people are getting. I see a heart emblem taken from YBY to keep padding that Lulu stats. A Gadgeteen, or rather say an Infinite team, opened up for Michael, and he got a second one, I believe.
Ancient Archives for Demon. What is he looking for? He wanted the Duelist emblem. He's not finding it. Has the Knife's Edge, has the Jeweled Lotus, has the Vayne and the TF online as ready, but can't find really something that synergizes with his current board. Maybe Star Guardian is the best option.
I think it has to be, and that's so awkward. That's not where you want to be. You want that Duelist.
You can see, Wash, that is not the face of a particularly happy player right now.
Like, who benefits from the mana here? I guess Vayne, so you can have her Silver Bolt proc multiple times? That's awkward.
Saw Dr. O in game 1, now Demon in game 2. These emblems are not helping out our
I thought that was a
Korean
frozen
players.
pitch. I didn't realize that was such a live
fully thinking it through.
He slams a Spark as well, desperate to try to get some DPS onto the board, which makes Shiv a little bit weaker here on Twisted Fate. But Demon's got bigger problems. He's worried about potentially just losing too much HP here, going against Lilo, who has that Jhin and Riftwalkers online. But that Vayne was able to target the Jhin before, and Lilo is not stopping the bleeding.
Hayden, we're still seeing if he's able to win this fight or not. Uh-oh, the Ezreal has no Gunblade, can't heal himself, and Hayden now down to 12 HP. Because he has Underground Heart, he will be able to get a few more cash outs for a little bit of extra gold, maybe a component, but all in all, in a tough spot here.
You can see Hayden is not happy there playing on the stage. At least he has the comfort of the other EMEA players to try and bug up his spirits, but you can see it's wearing on him, even with this board being as strong as it is.
I wonder if Hayden should have slammed Giant Slayer there. I think that fight was so close that you can easily say the Giant Slayer would have pushed Ezreal over the top. And I think Hayden recognizes that he may have lost that one unnecessarily, because yes, you do want Gunblade in the ideal scenario to heal your front line, but you also have to make sure to stop losing.
If Hayden's still not pushing the item in, will finally commit it, realizing that there's not enough room to maneuver up against YBY with the Hearts board. Keep your eye on that Lulu.
The Ezreal has to kill this Lulu quick before she targets him instead. It's going to be close, but I think it looks like Ezreal will get the kill off.
Whoop.
And he does right before the cast comes through. The Pantheon is a big boy, but not big enough just yet. We need a rod on this carousel for Hayden.
He slammed his Giant Slayer already, so he actually has kind of admitted that he should have done it the round before, because he needs to win out from here. You can't greed for BIS always, and he could be rewarded, because look how close the HP is. With Demon's loss, Hayden could go for that 5th, maybe even sneak into that top 4.
Oh boy, we're coming close to the edge here again. Our bottom 3 players very close to dead. Replay keeping happy up at the top, but everybody else towards the top taking some losses there, draining out the HP from the top 4.
Shroud for Hayden, I think it's a great choice given that he has so many items already, can get some utility on. But then what about players like Jazz Latte? He's down to his last life at 7 HP. He might not even see Aurelion Doom, Panda.
And Jazz Latte was playing that threat level maximum, trying to get as many threats down on his board as possible. I think this augment was generally much stronger at the end of set 8 coming into this set. I think it's harder. You want to kind of mix in these threats with Riftwalker, with Mech instead. And Jazz Latte is only on 10 gold to find as many upgrades as he can. He is mixing the board with the Riftwalkers, has the Rammus too now with the Bramble, helping to scale that armor onto Rammus as well. Finds the big upgrade on the Acel, has the Archangels online as well.
There's a fiddle in your shop. Is there a way we can get this in?
Oh, he's
well,
gonna
there is
be
one way.
out to Rift Walkers, it looks like.
Yeah, and I think that makes more sense because he just wants to lean into what makes his composition strong.
Can't find Bel'Veth too.
Oh, did he get the hook off in time? I think he did because of the way that his position. But he's going against Lee Loy here to fight for his life.
Yeah, both these players got a lot to lose in this round. See Jazz Latte just settling in for what could be a very, very rough round indeed. At least the backline for Lilo is not terribly strong, but the front line is pretty good. You ready in Soul? Flying out of the corner, should be able to land some pretty substantial shots.
Leona.
But not if it gets blown up.
Oh.
The Deus Ex Machina doesn't quite get the job done, which means Aurelion Sol should be able to clean up nicely.
This will be a
Lilo
big
alive?
loss. This will be a
Oh
big
my
loss. 1 HP and a
God.
dream for Lilo, for the Chinese player who some people think is going to be the favorite coming to this tournament, the only world champion in the past that is playing in this Monsters Attack World Championship, now down to 1 HP in game 2.
Oh, God.
And he is so happy that Riot changed up damage when you have 5 units surviving there, but Lilo barely hanging in. Jazz Latte has upgraded, playing multiple threats. It's something you can do with the level maximum. It's not unique threat, so having 2 Rammus 2s is much better than having that 1-star Aatrox.
And we've got a really tight situation here. Demon has dropped down to 18, Hayden on 12, Jazz Latte and Lilo. We are surely seeing some eliminations this round.
The Shroud comes in onto the Urgot, the pull in for the Rammus instead. Perfect placement there by Jazz Latte. It's all about this Ezreal. How fast can he kill all these units? It looks like very fast indeed. The front line has melted. Now it's going to be the Urgot clump. The shot comes in before the Undertow comes through. The Acel, I think, is not doing enough. The Jhin is down. The Acel's next. The Fiddle's waiting. HP totals are quite low, but I think not low enough. Jazz Latte going to take the loss, and it's going to be the final one. In the end, Jazz Latte, I think he's finishing 7th. Could be Lilo in 8th.
Lilo did. So at least a good 7th, but the prophecy has come true. We talked about Lilo is 1st or 8th. Started off with the 1st and now has that 8th.
You've got to show your range. You're on a big stage here. You've got to make an impression with people.
Sure. Look, at this point, I think the narrative has largely become every China's 8th brings every other region closer to that championship.
Absolutely.
I have to say I'm surprised that D-Man with a Star Guardian, Vayne, and a Last Whisper TF has made it this far at 4 HP now, trying to salvage any kind of position. I think he's even happy with a 6 in this case.
I would say so. All things considering, this game looked like it could have been a promising combat training into spread shot, has now kind of petered out into being a potential 5th place. If he finds a way to lose by fewer units than Hayden, for example,
one more.
might be able to get there.
To the point out,
TF.
from what we saw from the economy from just then, Michael, D-Man's in trouble here, of course, and Hayden is as well.
Oh!
But we've got upgrades coming in because there's money to spend. Michael up in 3rd place right now has no money in the bank. We should be seeing them dropping down fairly soon.
A massive HP gap, though, between the top 4 right now and the 5th or 6th. You have to salvage so many different wins throughout the stage 5 to actually claw their way back into that top 4.
So Lulu coming through again. As you noted, the hearts are just getting stronger and stronger. The emblem in the mix means they'll be able to raise their cap considerably. That Lulu, built for damage, built for punishment.
Yeah, I mean, Lulu's going to be focusing on the Vayne right here and doesn't going down.
One more.
It's a tale we'll see all weekend long. Lulu crushing dreams, and honestly, again, a good 6th. As good as good can feel.
And YB1 showcasing how much he cares about tempo, just slamming whatever items he's given. The Shojin and the IE, obviously not the best in slot for Lulu, but still able to get the job done until this point. 51 HP for the SEA player.
Viego's potentially chasing a Vex 3 with no upside of really hitting Vex 3 because he doesn't have items, but maybe that, I mean, it just actually buffed his Zac, so maybe that's something that he's thinking about.
And replay still on the Samira 1. Now, there we go, finally gets the upgrade, and that makes him so much stronger. He's already so strong, 70 HP and leading the lobby.
And he's playing 5 sure shot. He's Zephyring the back top corner. Hopefully this is enough for him to get that DPS to win this fight.
Yeah, we've got sure shots on both sides of the field. So, hello, AD Meta. It's nice to see you here again. Coming out, of course, a massive amount of damage means required. We have the massive tanks as well. And it's looking like it's not going to work out so well for replay.
Oh.
Multiple carries left alive. No!
Oh!
Oh!
We've
And
got to
that's
find out what that
considering
HP
the
was.
Samira walked up, got herself CC'd by the undertow, but still barely managed to win that fight. What an outcome.
And every win that Replay can get just inches him closer to level 9. Remember, he has Clear Mind, so he's stacking up. He's almost halfway there. And he does have 8 Sivers, so he's holding some really big power spikes and really utilizing the fact that you don't have to go vertical infinity. We talk about this a lot. If you don't have that front line and back line hex in good positions, what do you do instead? You can still play and flex around the 3 or 5.
I mean, yeah, as mentioned, we've got the chance to build up stronger replay. Of course, 2 points out of the previous iteration of this lobby. We'll be trying to hold on because Hayden is almost gone.
Second row. He's going to Zephyr the Zac, so it's all about whether or not... Oh no, the Samira got Zephyr. That's huge.
It's going to be so massive. How much can the Ace do? He can just bypass all of this Infinity front line, hit those sure shots right away at the very beginning, has the Guardbreaker, has the Gunblade, the Archangels to stack up all of this damage as the fight goes on. And is the Samira with Runan going to do enough? She has backline access as well, but maybe, is it going to be enough? It's going to be so close. The Ace one last. Oh! Meteor Shower comes through. But no, the Samira is so strong.
That's a second win diff. You talked about whether or not Ace can burst, but every single time the Ace would land, yes, you get reduced healing, but healing is still important. And the longer the fight goes, 5 Sure Shot continues to ramp. You think Ascension is great in the second half and the fight, you should definitely take a look at 5 Sure Shot.
Yeah, that's an absolute ton of AD. So 5 players remaining. Hayden still holding on by the fingertips. Of course, David, you mentioned that we've got a lot of HP in that top 4 for Hayden to try it and overcome.
But, I mean, there's one good sign here. That is the win streak, the fire around his portrait. I mean, he's doing well enough. He's gotten strong enough with the spike he's hit. I imagine MF2 itemized now as well as a secondary carry, and maybe has a chance with a few good next fights to actually make that top 4 and beat out maybe the SCA player YBY.
Yeah, so, and really funny thing is that Hayden still gets underground value, by the way. He's taking out every immediate cash out, trying to see if he can boost his economy. He's made to level 8, so he is on par in terms of the raw tempo with everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, that Misfortune is fully itemized. We've got the Ezreal fully itemized as well. The front line is good. Surely Hayden can hold on for just a little while longer.
Shroud on one side, Hook on the other. Doesn't hit anything of value. Going to be the Zephyr instead, hitting the MF. So the counter rat gameplay from Vidigal. Could that be the deciding factor in terms of who wins this fight?
Well, let's just focus on the Echo. Echo cast again! Able to potentially tank. It all comes down to whether or not this Vi can last as well.
Oh, the MF
I think
is
he's just
so
too
big.
strong. He just has too many stats, too many items.
MF took such a long time to cast, but when she did, it was with the power of the Archangels, deleting Aurelion Soul in a single barrage.
I think we're going to have a North America versus EMEA showdown here. Replay is the healthiest and is pretty much just waiting to see who challenges him at the top.
Shades of a Western LCQ with Kerfuzzled and Robbie Van maybe seeing that in game 2 as well. Hayden was in such a perilous spot. We saw his reaction on cam as well. He didn't think he could actually make it past the underground catch out, the transition into this Ezreal reroll comp. But for now, things are going well. He is still on 1 life though. One bad matchup, one, Zephyr doesn't able to hit, he might be in trouble.
Vidigal and YBY, though, are in a similar situation. They're not on win streaks. We'll see how Michael does. As noted before, no money in the bank, and will have a big DPS taken out. Who does still have the Samira, and at the back line, Twisted Fate.
Yeah, it's unfortunate we have this Urgot 2 in the shop, but if we can survive it, which looks like Michael does pick up a very easy win, his board is no joke either.
What a big loss this will be for the SCA player. Surely not big enough, 17 HP.
Well, we'll see. Right now, it does end up looking like Lulu's falling off without Axiom Arc, without that Battle Mage, without that hero augment for Chronic Hallucinations or Growth Spur. It just feels like you just get outskilled in the late game. It doesn't matter how much HP you preserve if you can't win a single fight in the late stage of the game. He's on a 4-loss streak.
Michael, of course, will be picking up that 2-star Argot that we were threatening us with before, so the pace of lobby will continue to pick up as we check in our economy. We can see that up the top, Replay, the only one able to hold on to a substantial amount of gold.
And Hayden, I imagine at this point, level 8, doesn't have much to roll down for at level 8. Wants to try and go 9. I'm not sure there's time to do so. Replay has 54 HP. That's really the only factor that can really stop Hayden at this point. But he seems so strong. If MF gets her cast off, if Ezreal can pick the right units, especially with the right positioning, he's a really scary opponent to face now.
Agreed. And if Hayden plays his cards right, he should even be able to potentially go to 9 in this game, which is kind of crazy to think about considering how poor he was. If he does, what does he end up outfitting the rest of his comp with?
Another Shroud could enter the building here, maybe a Rabadon's onto this GP, but I think Shroud just has too much value when you factor in all the incredibly strong abilities and CC units that come in at the 4 and 5 cost range.
Do bear in mind, of course, it is the 6 heart board, as noted before, the heart emblem, enabling massive scaling power. Of course, Frodo, you did notice that with the Lulu, if she runs into a mega tank, she can get stuck and stop getting the damage through what it needs to be.
And he's going for the second row, which is a little bit dicey if Replay has frontline CC. It's not going to be on the right side of it, though. He does get the Zephyr, and that's huge.
The Lulu is going to be out of play for a few precious seconds. She's supposed to be deleting people, but instead, she's taking the time off. Replay is stacking up with the short shots on the back line. Y1. This is surely the end of the line. Everything's falling to pieces, and Lulu will not make top 4.
YBY, SEA taken down in 5th place. Michael still alive. Hayden still streaking. Vidigal still alive as well, who did really well in game number 1, 7 points. Maybe has a chance to become one of the leaders in this competition, maybe even the top 4 if he's able to finish off this game strong.
Oh, an angry Brazilian fan base being underestimated is one of the most fearsome thing, not just in TFT, but in all of gaming and esports, and they're showing you why. Vidigal with a very solid top 4, and based off his HP, it looks like they're going to have Michael versus Replay and Hayden versus Vidigal. If Vidigal can lose by as few units as possible, he's going to get that guaranteed top 3, maybe even that top 2 if Hayden loses to Replay at the round after.
Michael has got the duplication, of course, on the right-hand side of your screen. We're keeping our eyes very closely on them because Hayden is also fighting for his life over on the left. This could very much, in moments away, define our last few players. The short shots, though, doing great work on the left-hand side. Hayden, the backline is staying alive, but Replay's units are falling. It's down to a Samira versus Samira. Michael is gone!
And the undertow did not come through from that Urga in the very end. I think Michael's eliminated. Vidigal takes a hit as well from Hayden. Vidigal down to maybe 3rd place. Hayden still streaking and left alive. Michael, a top 4, maybe a good position after that first game.
All right, so now it comes down to who is actually matching up with. Looks like it's going to be Replay versus Vidigal. So Hayden has the round off. He's going to be going up against Replay's Ghost, which means that it feels like that's going to be a 2 facing off.
And Hayden is ready to spike, Peter. He's 50 gold. He's trying to maximize his chances at hitting 9 and finding an actual usable unit to slot in.
He said it so well. Hayden seems to have given up hope, but hope has found him anew again. Vidigal, with a very big chance of getting taken out here, has the 2 damage dealers in the 2 corners as well. Nice step out onto the Ezreal for Replay to cut down some of that damage. The tanks are holding up for the time being, getting a few more cards, but no, the Rammus drops and makes that not possible. Out of play for the moment. The 2 backlines scaling up into each other. But Replay hasn't got enough in the tank.
The double Deathblade Jhin is such a menace. A comical double Zephyr with the Zephyr units Zephyring each other at the very start of that fight. Thieves Gloves on the carousel looks like the best option here. Unfortunately, the Hearts player is no longer with us in this game too. Can't pick up the emblem here.
Yeah, so 2 best items are taken, which means what does Replay take? I guess Dragon's Claw is the only usable thing. As a full item, if he had a floating component, maybe you could make something happen, but I think D-Claw is the safe pick here.
So Hayden preserved for that round, playing it up against Replay's Ghost. Keeps that streak intact to push the board even further. As you said before, David, Hayden had really looked visually like he'd completely given up on this game, but somehow is still holding on.
When it comes to this top 3 regions that have to prove themselves in this World Championships, NA, EMEA, and Brazil, but also 3 comps that I think we're going to be seeing a lot of all throughout the day. Infiniteam on one end, we see the Riftwalkers as well, and the Ezreal reroll, who we talked about so many times, can really pop off in games like these.
How does Replay actually end up capping his board? Something is a question, but we'll answer that in a second as we have a fight for 2nd place.
Yeah, this would be the crowning moment for Hayden's game. You can see a little bit more confidence in his eyes right now. His board has been performing. The stun lands right onto the Iranian Soul for Vidigal, taking out a huge chunk of his damage. It's going to be down to the wire, though.
The Fiddle CC is coming in so big. I'm not sure it's enough for this Ezreal. The MF is already dead. The Ezreal now down as well. 12 HP for Hayden, 1 loss, and he's out. And that will be the case. Hayden, in the end, down to -7, down in 3rd place. Brazil versus NA to top this game 2 off.
And this is a really scary board here for Vidigal. And we have a Sivir 3. We had about 50, 60 gold for Replay, so he has a lot of gold to work with. He can also start considering scaling out of 5 Sure Shot, because yes, Ashe is, gives you that synergy, but he needs to have quality units. Big upgrades. Urgot 2, Ezreal 2. Can we find anything else better?
Last few moments ticking away. Whereas our players know that even the smallest pair position could change the difference here. Certainly Brazil stepping up in our estimation.
The Zephyr so big.
And that's a Jin out of play for a good chunk of this early round.
That's massive, and so we like to see whether or not this Rams can get in. And it does end up moving close to the backline, but not quite hitting it. So many of the backline units are alive for replay, and he has a sure shot emblem. This Urgot's gonna have so much DPS. Another flourish does eliminate a lot of these units.
One more cast from Ace, so the meteor shower comes through. It kills off the Edro, kills off the board. Replay taken down to 7 HP. 7 on one side, 5 on the other. This last fight decides it all.
Brazilian fans giving their representative all the energy he needs to get across the line. These rounds are absolutely bonkers. We've just got a few more bits of power coming in.
There's just a little bit too many 2-star legendaries that he's hitting, though, right? He hit his Garen 2, he's hitting his Fiddlesticks 2. I think he probably wants to move some of these items off of Rammus as well, unless he wants to stick with CC to the end. This is a very difficult board for Vidigo to do it again, but if he does, Brazil has officially arrived.
We've got items coming in for you guys. Are these balls missing anything? Could these items make a difference?
So Urgot wants more items you will get off of his anvil. We'll see if there's anything that will work off of this Urgot. You already have the Last Whisper on the server. The GS is going to be fantastic just to get that little bit of extra damage. Already has a sure shot emblem on the Urgot as well, so some great synergies there.
We have still not seen what Vidigo's going to go for.
Another one.
Zephyr.
Is it time? Acel?
You gotta do it.
Air as well, maybe on the side of Vidigo.
Doesn't have that many item slots to use it on, so he has to put on very specific carries. I mean, he might even contemplate frontlining the Hex. I think that wouldn't, or the Vex, that wouldn't even be that bad of an idea. But it comes down to micro positioning and who's able to get their CC off first.
Will this be the moment where Brazil cements themselves as the region to be absolutely taken seriously? The last championship was very disappointing for them, but this first 2 games we've seen on stream have been magnificent. Replay being torn in 2. We've still got the Urgot building up the power. The Jin and the Aurelian Soul untouched so far, but the front line is collapsing. In comes Replay, and down goes Vidigo.
And NA comes out on top. Dan, I'm sure you're so happy to see this happen.